One of the things that you can do, but there's an important caveat, to increase your sense of meaning in life is to get into the flow state more frequently. That's why I said you want a moving practice that's conducive to the flow state. But there's one important caveat, which is we, of course, have figured out, and I'm playing with words here, how to game this and how to hijack it by creating things like video games. I'm not saying this is the case for all video games or this is the case for all people, but the WHO now acknowledges this as a real thing, that you can get into the flow state within the video game world to the detriment of your ability to get into the flow state in the real world. What's the opposite of flow? Depression. In fact, depression has been called anti-flow. So you get these people that are flowing in this non-real world, and they can't transfer it to the real world, and it's actually costing them flow in the real world. So they tend to suffer depression and all kinds of things.
Oh, your ability, your habit, and just skill at attaining flow in the video game world basically makes you less effective, or maybe shocks you at how difficult it is to achieve flow in the physical world.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the.
I don't sort of push back against the implied challenge of transferability, because there's a lot of I have a lot of friends that play video games. A very large percent of young folks play video games, and I'm hesitant to build up models of how that affects behavior. My intuition is weak there. Oftentimes, people that have PhDs are of a certain age that they came up when video games weren't a deep part of their life development. I would venture to say people who have developed their brain with video games being a large part of that world, are in some sense different humans. And it's possible that they can transfer more effectively some of the lessons, some of the ability to attain flow from the virtual world to the physical world. They're also more, I would venture to say, resilient to the negative effects of, for example, social media or video games that have that, maybe the objectification or like the over-sexualized, over-violent aspect of video games. They're able to turn that off when they go to the physical world and turn it back on when they're playing the video games probably more effectively than the old timers. So I just want to say that sort of, I'm not sure. It's a really interesting question how transferable the flow state is. Okay. I don't know if you want to comment on that.
I do. First of all, I did qualify, and I'm saying it's not all the case for all video games or for all people. I'm holding out the possibility, and I know this possibility because I've had students who actually suffer from this and have done work around it with me.
The ability to achieve.
They couldn't transfer. Yeah. And then they were able to step back from that and then take up the cognitive science and write about it and work on it. Also, I'm not so sure about the resiliency claim because there seems to be mounting evidence. It's not consensus, but it's certainly not regarded as fringe, that the increase in social media is pretty strongly correlated with increase in depression, self-destructive behavior, things like this.
I would like to see that evidence because
I can find it.
No. Let me. I'm always hesitant to too eagerly kind of agree with things that I want to agree with. That there's a public perception. Everyone seems to hate on social media. I wonder, as always with these things, does it reveal depression or does it create depression?
Sure.
This is always the question. It's like whenever you talk about any political or ideological movement, does it create hate or does it reveal hate?
And that's a good thing to ask. And you should always challenge the things that you intuitively want to believe. I agree with that.
Yeah. Like aliens.
So one of the ways you address this, and it's not sufficient, and I did say the work is preliminary, but yes. If I can give you a plausible mechanism, that's new, and then that lends credence. And part of what happens, right, is illusory social comparison. Think of Instagram. People are posting things that are not accurate representation of their life or life events. In fact, they will stage things, but the people that are looking at these, right, they take it often as real, and so they get downward social comparison. And this is like compared to how you and I probably live, where we may get one or two of those events a week. They're getting them moment by moment. And so it's a plausible mechanism that why it might be driving people into a more depressed state. So,
Okay, the flip side of that is because there's a greater gap going from real world to Instagram world, you start to be able to laugh at it and realize that it's artificial. So for example, even just artificial filters, people start to realize like,
yeah,
there's like, it's the same kind of gap as there is between the video game world and the real world. In the video game world, you can do all kinds of wild things. Grand Theft Auto, you can shoot people up, you can do whatever the heck you want. In the real world, you can't. And you start to develop an understanding of how to have fun in the virtual world and in the physical world. And I think it's just to push back. I'm not saying either is true, though.
Yeah,
Those are very interesting claims. The more ridiculously out of touch Instagram becomes, the easier you can laugh it off, potentially, in terms of the effect it has on your psyche.
So I'll respond to that.
Yeah.
But at some point, we should get back to flow.
Yeah. As we engage in flow.
You laugh at the shampoo commercial, and you buy the shampoo.
Yeah.
There's a capacity for tremendous bullshitting because of the way these machines are designed to trigger salience without triggering reflective truth seeking.
I'm thinking of counter examples because sometimes you're can laugh all the way to the bank. So you can laugh and not buy the shampoo.
Right.
There's many cases. So I think you have to laugh hard enough.
You do have to laugh hard enough, but the advertisers get millions of dollars precisely because for many, many people, it does make you buy the shampoo. And that's the concern.
And maybe the machine of social media is such that it optimizes the shampoo buying.
Yes. The point I was trying to make is whether or not that particular example is, ultimately right, the possibility of transfer failure is a real thing. And I want to contrast that to an experience I had when I was in grad school. And I've been doing Tai Chi Chuan about 3 or 4 years, very religiously, in both senses of the word, like 3 or 4 hours a day, and like reading all the literature, and like, and I was having all the weird experiences, cold as ice, hot as lava, all that stuff. And it's, ooh, right?
Yeah.
But my friends in grad school, they said to me, what's going on? You're different. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, you're a lot more balanced in your interactions, and you're a lot more flowing, and you're a lot more sort of flexible, and you adjust more. And I realized, oh, and this was the sort of Taoist claim around Tai Chi Chuan, that it actually transfers in ways that you might not expect. You start to be able, and I've now noticed that. I now notice how I'm doing Tai Chi even in this interaction, and how it can facilitate and afford. And so there's a powerful transfer. And that's what I meant by, flow wisely. Not only flow in a way that's, right, making sure that you're distinguishing causation from correlation, which flow can do, but find how to situate it, home it, so that it will percolate through your psyche and permeate through many domains of your life.